McDonough. It is, I'm going to start over just in case it said my mic was muted. Chris, could you hear me?
I heard you now, Mike. How you doing, bud?
Good. Well, everybody, welcome to Profiling Evil by Mike King. And I'm with Chris McDonough. We're here getting ready to talk about day 6 in Andy Moorman's search for his sister, Suzanne. And it has been an eventful day. Last night left us a little bit concerned because of areas that seem to have been abandoned. And gratefully today, law enforcement stepped up. We're going to talk about that with Andy tonight. Chris, he's briefing with the sheriff and CBI right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, FBI, CBI, and the SO are talking to him. He just texted me a little bit here, and he says he's coming in. So everybody, Andy will be here. He's going to be headed over, but they're giving him a quick debrief on some information. So hopefully it's positive in terms of for what he's looking for. So, yep.
Great. And I'll just mention to everyone, Chris, thankfully, the manager of the Hampton Inn in Evanston, Wyoming, allowed me to slip in off of the freeway and use their Wi-Fi. And so a call out to them, if you're driving through Evanston, Wyoming, in the southwest corner of Wyoming, make sure you stop at the Hampton Inn and give those good folks your business, because this was so kind of them. So the background music, I can't do anything about. It's not my music. Yeah. Maybe it's good music. I don't know. I got my earbuds in. So maybe you could kind of high level recap what happened today, and then we could jump in and talk a little bit about the press release that the sheriff's office just released.
Yeah. So there's been some great, things that took place, and, kudos to the SO, CBI and the FBI. Everybody, pulled it together and fired off. I mean, everybody that knows me, our PE family and everybody that understands us, there were some protocol things that we were kind of taking a look at. It looks like they delivered today in terms of how they excavated a certain property. And we've got a press release tonight that we're going to talk about. But I think if we step back for a second, I think today was a good day overall. I mean, just, kind of setting it up here, and we're obviously going to hear firsthand from Andy, but we had some boots on the ground too this day, watching, some of the things that were going on. So it was a good day, Mike.
Yeah. It's interesting because I put my hat on, having worked in 2 major political offices, one a district attorney's office, and the second as an attorney's general. And there always is a really interesting challenge when it comes to protecting the public and also being transparent. And I think one of the frustrations along the way for Andy and everyone else was that he was treated as an outsider who was really kind of getting in the way. And it took a little time for him to create a relationship with the sheriff. Frankly, I think what he did was remarkable. I think he forced them to do some things. Maybe they were things they were already going to do. Yep. And from a political standpoint, I keep going back and looking at it, and I think how much easier this could have been if they would have just brought him into the inner circle and said, here's the areas we want you to search. Here's the places we want you to stay away from for specific investigative reasons that we can't share with you, and made him a part of the solution instead of looking at it maybe as just a burr under their saddle. And what we haven't wanted to do, folks, is in any way come across as antagonistic or critical of law enforcement, but absolutely critical of some of the processes that we've seen. These are challenging jobs, and this country has faced enough baloney with attacks on law enforcement who are public servants just trying to help out. And I don't know why, but I guess my political side wanted to just get that out in the open, Chris, and say maybe everyone will be doing a little bit of rethinking. The next group that decides they want to conduct their own search, maybe they look more closely at how they can get more support. But Andy asked and asked and asked to try to get that sheriff involved, and it took some time until that finally happened. And frankly, I think it took until he actually was showing up with people till that happened. But on the flip side, maybe law enforcement and our political figures should remember who they work for and try to also coordinate and control and manage things. And again, I don't say it to be critical of any individuals, because I think these people have really stepped up. I think the sheriff's office has continued to investigate this from day one. I think CBI has. Having the feds involved takes away complaints like there's not enough money, or we're not getting the support behind us. We don't have the bench. Well, you do have the bench when you got the federal government. But anyway, kind of some thoughts I've had. I don't know how you thought as you kind of thought through this last week.
Well, no, I mean, I think you nailed it right on the head. I think, there's a diligent effort from CBI and the FBI, rocking and rolling on this thing. Sheriff's departments are political beasts. Those other guys aren't. They're, they don't have to answer to a constituency. They're not elected. They make it happen. In another year or two, you're going to have a new sheriff. So that guy's got to play it. He's got to balance it out. And that's why this team here that we saw, with CBI and the FBI and the task force that's apparently, announced here in this press release, you don't have it's not necessary to put the statistics in the things that you're doing. It is if you're going to get reelected, but it has no bearing on the investigation. Okay? So
it's kind of interesting, isn't it? I think of a police chief who every week goes before a city council, and that city council and mayor can terminate their employment at any time. And then you have a sheriff who goes before the people and is given a 4-year period of time. And so they can really influence and anyway, nonetheless, this is not a discussion on politics. It's again compliments that today we saw law enforcement really stepping up. What do you think about maybe going through this press release while we wait for Andy and just talk about a few things?
Let's put it on. And remember Jim McDonald, we both know Jim from LASD's, LA Sheriff, one of the largest sheriff's departments in the country. Okay. I mean, Jim,
great guy,
unbelievable guy, and we've been friends for years, right, Mike? I mean, the two of us, Jim,
very close, yeah.
And so, of all the guys, he's walked that ice, and he's learned how to skate it pretty correctly. So I can't see it very well. Can you see it better than me?
I can. I actually have it pulled up. So let me just maybe read a couple of things. This was issued by the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office today, September 29th. And it says, with the private search by Andy Moorman concluding on September 29, 2020, the Suzanne Morphew Missing Person Investigative Task Force, consisting of Federal Bureau of Investigation, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, 11th Judicial District Attorney's Office, and the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, provides a recap of the search for Suzanne over the last several days and since she went missing on May 10, 2020. As reported previously, the law enforcement team responded to collect several pieces of possible evidence found by the searchers across the county and will continue to follow up to determine if there is anything in connection to Suzanne's disappearance. Then they go in and they start to break it down. Also this week, members of the law enforcement task force responded to reports of human remains trained dogs alerting on 3 separate properties in Chaffee County. And I want to just stop there for a moment because and up until last night, we had law enforcement who showed up but then disappeared. Now, we don't know if they continued to observe from a hilltop or from closed circuit TV or whatever else, but it left Andy and the entire world scratching their heads wondering why they walked away from locations that were so important that they came out and put personnel on them and secured them. And we have to trust that they, in fact, had that all under control and didn't just walk away. But last night, that caused an uproar in a lot of different locations, including in the Moorman family. There were some things that happened. Do you want to talk about any of those?
Yeah, I think, family members reached out and said, what time is it here? And I think they had a satisfactory answer that came back, and they were complimentary of some of the investigative techniques that were taking place, and so we got to let that sit because and I went over this last night just briefly about why it's critical if a citizen turns over a potential crime scene. Okay, and it's once law enforcement steps in to that crime scene, unless they have some other mechanism in place to retain the chain of custody, i.e., it's the evidentiary rules. This is what convicts criminals. Okay, if that chain is broken, if it's forensics, if it's anything, okay, if it's blood work that gets screwed up or anything like that, if that is the case, that person walks if the defense attorney can suppress that evidence in an evidentiary hearing. So that's why it's critical. Once it's handed to law enforcement, and this is what I was saying last night, and people took that wrong. They thought I was banging law enforcement. No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is Evidence 101, Homicide 101, that book behind me, okay, this is the protocol that you have to follow. There's no getting around it.
So critical. So critical.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. And you are absolutely right. And we have to trust and frankly, hope and pray that.
And we do. I mean, we're
was never destroyed.
Yep. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I interrupted.
No. So they talked about the human remains trained dogs alerted on 3 separate properties. They said one of the locations investigated by the task force was along the Arkansas River in the county. The dog handler used on that private property, which I thought was interesting, was interviewed by our team and explained that the dog did not alert. And I don't think anyone ever said that. They said that he gave an indication, a passive alert.
Passive, that's right.
But that's interesting.
Passive hit. Passive hit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, the music in the background, everybody, so you know, it's in the hotel that Mike is sitting in. He's sitting in the lot. He can't turn it off, so we'll get that out of the way. Go ahead, Mike.
If it were the Doobie Brothers playing, it would be mine, but it isn't. So they go on and they say the dog handler interviewed by our team was interviewed by their team, and he was very clear up front that it wasn't a alert, it was a passive alert. Then it said our law enforcement team obtained consent from the property owner, and after further investigation, including working with private human remains dogs on the property, it was determined that it was not a viable lead in the case. And that's actually there's reasonable suspicion is actually, I think, the way it goes. Yeah, Chris, you got a question there.
Yeah, so private dogs, which means probably the dogs he brought, right? Andy's dogs, is that how you're reading this?
Well, let's see. Our law enforcement team obtained consent, including working with the private human remains dogs on the property. So probably working with our dogs. Yeah. Did they bring their own? I don't know. I mean, that's
what they say that. Okay. So again, let's make a point here. Okay. Evidentiary in nature. Okay. A citizen is coming into the city and doing a search with their own dog. Okay. Not a police dog, not a certified canine that's going to be certified in the courts in Colorado. Okay. A certified dog. These dogs were from Missouri and another, I think, New Mexico. You have 2 dogs out of state from 2 volunteers. They secured the scene, and what happened? They used the same dogs. Okay. I don't know if that's acceptable in Colorado. That it seems like that's the rules of evidence. Okay, but hopefully they were able to search that area with their own dogs. Okay, if they haven't, then we'll talk about that later on down the road. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no. So I guess the only thing that was troubling to me, again, I don't know. We talked about the Bureau of Interior and or the Department of the Interior, and whether waterways were presenting some challenges as far as excavating, but a decision was made to not excavate, and we got to stand behind and hope that was a decision made on factual kinds of things. I guess the thing I go back to and that still kind of troubles me is Andy came out with GoFundMe money that he was prepared to rebuild and put things back the way they were. So what's the harm or foul, other than maybe the landowner just didn't want to go through that? And I guess that's understandable, but gosh, this is a missing woman.
Yeah, no, totally understandable. Good point, Mike. What else we got?
So they say now that the second property near the Morphew home was also investigated after the same dog team alerted to an area on that private property. And that was kind of news to me because I thought Andy had reported that actually 2 separate dogs hit in that location.
Yeah, and we'll find out when he comes on. We'll find out.
Okay. They continue on and say that their investigative team immediately upon being notified secured the scene, and our own Tyler, who was on site there, can attest to that because a huge contingency of law enforcement, state and federal, showed up and secured that location. And it says this location of interest is on private property. And again, I don't know why they keep announcing that. I think just about every piece of ground anywhere except for in the forest is private. So I don't know why it's so important to mention that. But with the consent of the property owner, it was investigated extensively by members of the task force and found to have no evidentiary significance to the case. Any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, if that's the facts and they didn't need a search warrant, they felt more comfortable in a one of the highest profile missing women cases in the country to go with consent from a property owner. That's completely up to them. And it's good for them. That's good police work. You can do that. Okay. But you would think that this is one of the highest profile missing women in the world right now, that you would want to cross your T's and dot your I's, because that owner could come at some point if they did collect something and say, hey, I never told them they could actually dig it up. Okay. And that's called fruit of the poisonous tree. So any evidence that they would have collected, had it been there, could have been suppressed for evidentiary nature in a court of trial. So go ahead.
Well, we just have to assume that there's a whole lot that we don't know. And that would be arrogant for us to think that we know anything about the inside workings. We've been living like the rest of our listeners on what's in the public system. But it poses a question again, and we said it several times last night, is Andy had also said, I have the money to dig this tree out and put a brand new tree in if that's what it takes. And that would have removed all doubt, like the third location that we're going to talk about. And that was that a third location, the press release goes on to say, was identified in unincorporated Chaffee County near Salida on private property, again, naming that off, I don't know why, where a different pair of human remains dogs alerted. So this is interesting because it's a separate pair. Once alerted, our team responded immediately and secured the property, providing security around the clock. And I found that kind of interesting because I thought Andy reported last night that everybody left.
Well, I think at the property that we're talking about, yeah, but we have photographs of nobody that they left the first couple of things. So, that's good. So
they must have been watching from a position where hopefully
probably
we're looking and surveilling and hoping that somebody might show up too,
Again, chain of custody.
Yeah.
Okay. It comes to chain of custody. Go ahead.
No, so then they said this morning our team, along with the FBI and CBI, with the consent of the property owner, excavated this location, and once again, nothing of evidentiary value to the Suzanne Morphew case was located. And I just say, hallelujah that they excavated one of them, and how much of a relief that must have been for Andy, because it's only the unknown. He came out knowing that he could find a negative answer to his questions.
Yeah, no, it's
unanswered. That's hard.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, here's a guy that organized, a search effort of over 750 people plus. How many square miles, Mike, or linear miles?
Yeah, they walked 6,000 linear miles in this thing.
Yeah. Thousands and thousands of dollars of information or money spent for hotels, food, that kind of stuff. From the GoFundMe page, by the way, and there will be a full accounting to that from Andy. He's made a promise, okay, and he's probably going to buy a drone or something to that effect. He said he's going to, for the local law enforcement agencies. And what's ironic though? Go ahead. No, go.
Isn't that amazing that in the midst of all of this, he said whatever he has left is going to take care of either other searches or to try to give someone like this county some equipment that they desperately need.
Yeah, yeah. And on behalf of Suzanne, his sister, who, you know, I'm here to tell you the guy's not going to be done. If I was a betting man, and I don't bet, I'm not a betting man, but if I was to throw something up here, I think when he comes on with us here, you know, and by the way, he's at CBI. So for all we know, he's watching us. And if everybody is, we'll say hi to you guys because we know some of you. And so some of the ideas that hopefully when he comes on, he'll be able to fill us in on how he feels. I mean, this is his case. It's not, you know, it's got nothing to do with us. This is about Suzanne. And so wrapping up the press release, where are we at, Michael, down at the bottom there?
So they kind of wrap it up by saying the sheriff's office is dedicated to assigning financial and staffing resources to the case as leads continue to be extensively followed up on by investigators. And thank goodness that the organization is continuing to look at this as an ongoing investigation. It should never go cold, and hopefully they will continue to do their thing and justice will be served. They remind people that there's a number to send tips in. And then the sheriff makes sure to, at the end, to put in some statistics to just remind people how much has been done. And he talks about the total tips that were received in there, the number of interviews that they've conducted in Colorado, Indiana, and other locations. And then again, he says 130 plus searches, including warrants, which remain sealed, have been done, and 4,000 hours have been invested. So kudos to them.
Absolutely.
I know an earlier press release said we had up to 100 people that have searched. He's now saying 130 different searches. So maybe those same 100 broke into groups and did different searches on different days. But we can't discount what Andy did when he walked in with 700 people to search. And oh, how I wish there had been better cooperation from the top in helping him understand areas to search, especially if they happen to search areas that the sheriff's office was already focusing on. The last thing that we would have wanted them to do is slow down the investigation.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, kudos to, you know, those who are funding this search. It's probably, you know, hopefully if it's a task force, then it's a combination of federal dollars and state dollars. So that kind of, you know, you have to ask yourself then, what is the budget? Well, it appears that the budget is unlimited. And, you know, and that, you know, it's just one of those things that it sounds like they've had money. And it sounds like, according to this, they have a lot more money, and that the investigation is going to continue forward at probably a faster clip. One of the things I'm most proud of Andy on this whole thing is he was able to turn some investigative paperwork over to the investigators that I am positive was a game changer in their investigation. So I appreciate all of this data and everybody that's involved in that task force. They're my fellow brothers and sisters in law enforcement, you know, in terms of I'm retired, but again, you know, we still work with the Cold Case Foundation. So we may run across you at an ASHA meeting or something to that effect. And, you know, that said, okay, good for you. Good. We're very proud of you. Okay. And we're going to keep going. We're everybody that has done hard work behind this. This is about Suzanne, and you know the sheriff. He nails it at the very end here. You know, he said this is about Suzanne. Well, you're right. It is about Suzanne, and that's why we're all here, and that's why there's tens of thousands of people around the world, you know, watching in relationship to this whole situation. So, you know, we're hopefully Andy will be able to jump in here pretty soon. Here he comes right now as we speak.
Oh, good.
There he is. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Andy, how are you?
I'm okay.
How are we doing? What do you got? How are you feeling? I haven't talked to you in I think 18, 19 hours you've been on a mission.
Yeah, it got really busy down here the last few days. Last minute scramble, a lot of loose ends to tie up, and I'm just exhausted.
You look like it, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hopefully it's a feeling of you've done everything you can possibly do.
Well, I have. And the terrain out here is horrible. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. This crime was committed by one person with no witnesses. That much I know. It was done by one person. There's nobody else involved. And there were no witnesses. And that makes it a tough deal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like searching with a blindfold on. Okay. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know how much ground did we cover, Chris? Where are we at, Mike?
6,000 linear miles, in excess of 6,000 linear miles.
And CBI and I've been visiting with them, and they couldn't thank me enough for what I've done.
There you go.
I'm glad to hear that.
Felt good. That felt good. And they also say, we're so sorry. You don't know how bad we want to share information with you guys.
Right.
But we can't because of the dynamics of this case. And I want you to think about that just a second. One person did it. There are no witnesses. Every little bit of information, when this comes to trial, and it will, is critical.
Yep.
And if it gets any little bit of that information, because you may not find a body, okay? I hate to say that. Damn, I hate to say it. But all that information turns out to be the body. And if any of it gets muddied, it messes it all up.
Yep.
So I get it. I am not mad at the Sheriff's Department. I am not mad at CBI. I am not disappointed with FBI.
Yep.
I have no disappointments with those guys at all. On a supportive role, they've done a good job out here.
Good.
Their hands are tied in a lot of ways that we don't understand, but they are. Mm-hmm. And I think I know why. It's because one person did this. There were no witnesses. So there's nothing else to pick over. You've got to sort out what one guy did. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. Good. And they may have a witness that I'm not aware of. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I've been out here too long, and too much information has come to me, and I just don't think there's that stuff in there. I don't know.
You have passed on a massive amount of information to law enforcement from tips that you've been receiving from people in this community.
Yeah.
We don't want you to obviously talk about any of that.
No.
But we feel confident that while this may take time, that people will come forward as they get the courage to come forward. And whoever that one person is doesn't have power over the masses.
Hey guys, you ever walked into a mine that you couldn't see the back of until your flashlight battery went dead and you found yourself in the dark? Been there. And I was at 14,000 feet doing it. Talk about scared. Right. Thank goodness it was a reasonably straight mine and I could see the tunnel light. That was scary.
Huh.
It's been a tremendous experience out here, and I can't say enough for the support that I've received, and I can't thank you two enough for helping me get where I am today. Yeah, I didn't find my little sister. But I gave it everything I had. And I mean that.
Andy, the world, the world's not going to give up on you or you. you have been unbelievably guided by a force of good. And that force of good is from hundreds of thousands of people that have come together on behalf of your sister. You were selected, not by choice, but by the universe, for lack of a better term, to be her voice. You picked up that mantle. And I'm telling you, everybody that knows you, they can see it. I can see it. They're not only proud of you, but they're proud that they wish they had a brother like you. Right? And I can guarantee you, you're going to go home with your head high. This isn't over. People like you, I will guarantee you, the great men and women, the investigators that are on this case that you're talking about and that we know, okay, you have just motivated them 10 times further than they were motivated. And that one person knows, as we used to say, and Mike and I have, the old saying, you cannot outrun the radio. You can run, but you cannot outrun the radio, because there's another guy on the other side. And the great thing about this kind of case also, there is no statute of limitations on your sister. None, ever. And we'll make a commitment to you right now, Mike and I will. If this thing gets to a place where there's nothing there, we will pick it up in the Cold Case Foundation, Michael. And we will turn another 85 guys on this. Okay? And we will flip additional rocks over for you. And if we have to go into that mind with you, we'll do it. We will absolutely do it. So don't think that you haven't found her. Pray that you will have the strength to keep searching. It's not necessarily physically there, okay? But now you have to step back, and it's here, okay? And then it's here,
right?
And it's here.
Yeah. Well, I would ask everybody from this point forward, and a lot of people have contacted me on GoFundMe. I really would like it if you would now use the tip line 100%. Okay.
Okay.
You can use the tip line or send it to Chris and Mike and let them sort it out. I think you guys would rather they use the tip line as well, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't deny a tip if it came your way. I'd bet.
No.
Because you're going to just turn around and give it to the tip line.
That's right.
That's right. Save a step. Go direct.
So,
call 911 if it's an emergency situation and pass it on.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about some of the dynamics of the great people that have helped you. I know you have been, very private, after the day, saying, I wish I could just walk up to each individual and thank them. And so, what are your thoughts there, bud?
I don't think I heard one person complain about anything I asked them to do. Not once. They never second guessed it. I would say, let's go search here today. And everybody's like, well, okay, let's go. I mean, people don't even go to work and do that. You know what I mean? The boss says, hey, I want you to pick all those boxes up out of the aisle. Well, yeah, I'll get to it when I want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what a wonderful bunch of people. Motivated. The horsemen that came. You want to talk about gentlemen. I mean, they were just super. The women that you would have never thought would have wanted to search. Maybe a little bit heavy set. You know what I mean? Marching their butts off. You know what I mean? Over rain that is just impossible.
Yep.
I mean, I have nearly broken my ankle 250 times since I've been here. Thank goodness for good boots. You know what I mean? Laced up tight to where my feet just about die, but that's the way it's got to be. Today I drove up a road into the mountains that was 15 miles long. You know how long it took me? 2.5 hours to drive 15 miles.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, why? Because the rocks in the path were a foot tall that I was running over in my truck.
Yeah. That's Jeep country. That's Jeep country. Huh?
Well, I'm going to tell you what, it's Chevy Duramax country too, because it didn't tear that thing up. That thing's a beast.
Well, and thanks for taking care of our producer Tyler and keeping him out of trouble and getting him home safe.
Yeah. He and I had dinner last night together. That was fun. He's a good guy.
Oh, yeah, we heard you actually bombed somebody else's dinner party.
Yeah, we did. We walked in. I was so damn tired. I thought it was our group. You know, I sat down at the table and I looked over a few minutes later and I was like, oh my! And the waitress slid the table up against theirs. And I wasn't paying any attention. I was thinking about eating, and then the guy looks at me. He says, like, "Hey, I think I know you." And then it was on. So we had a bunch of more searchers that joined it today.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. They bought my dinner.
Uh-huh.
I was like, cut it out, man. You guys don't have to do that. They bought my dinner, you know?
Yeah. So tell us about this community that's now home for you.
Yeah.
Salida is a really champion place to visit. I'll be honest with you. Really good community. They're just kind. Everybody's having fun. Everywhere you look, they're smiling. I don't know what it is about these mountain towns. But they're having a good time. You know what I mean?
You know, can I pay you a personal compliment, Andy? I have had the privilege of looking and working and even organizing a number of major teams to solve big problems. One time, I actually even had the opportunity to lead a team of 26,000 people in a major event. And every team, regardless of size, I've seen, and there's an old term that's called, the teams go through this stage called forming, and then norming, storming, and performing. And Chris and I each night would talk as we watched you go through this process of forming together this massive army, and how you all kind of came together with this common purpose. And then, like a batch of bees get loose in the middle of you, everybody was scattering, and people were kind of going through this process of what we call storming, where everybody has a better idea than what they heard, and you were able to bring that all together. And then that final stage of performing, watching that group of people day after day, as we watched them marching around on maps and seeing the areas they covered. I don't know that I've seen many commanders that have been able to put together as good of a process with people that were not trained in that. Yet some people that have professional backgrounds in those areas. You, my friend, did a magnificent job, and again, there will always be that little piece of you that says, "But we didn't find her." But you did everything as good as it could have been done. And I believe that you had heaven shining down on you the whole time, because not one person got lost.
Yeah, not one injury, not one person lost. There's nobody up there in those damn mountains. And I say damn mountains. They're beautiful, but they're hell to climb.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, my friend, because you pulled off a masterful job in a horribly ugly situation, and you did it with very little support. And I'm just so grateful that everything has come together, and that there is now a network that you have with law enforcement that you can continue to offer tips and leads, that the community hopefully continues to fight this battle alongside you, and every single thing they hear, that they're calling the tip line and saying, "I heard this from this person or that person," because those are the little pieces of the puzzle that will help them put this case together and bring somebody to justice.
Right. Yeah. And Andy, I think we're at a phase now in an investigation. Okay. This is just another phase. Okay. There's an old saying that says, no man got to the top of the mountain by falling there. Okay.
Right.
So you're in the climb now. You may be here. Okay. The investigators may be here. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that variance is. You do. We don't need to know. That's between your family and the investigators.
Right.
We don't need to know that stuff. Nobody in the world, please do not jeopardize this case in any way, shape, or form. And rumors or this kind of stuff through social media, there potentially could be people where things are going around that lives could be, in jeopardy and stuff. You heard Andy say, there's one person. As a result of that, that means all this other stuff, this Mishigosh and all this other stuff, okay? We don't want to jeopardize anybody or anything. So here's what I would say to you as a friend, and you and I talk sometimes at 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Well, that's because that's what time I've been getting up, Chris.
I know.
Well, I'm starting on Indiana time,
I know, and it's good. You need to be on Indiana time, and you're going to have Indiana time tomorrow again. Okay, but here's where I'm going with this, buddy. Okay, the most successful investigations for missing persons, and you're doing it, is to keep your sister in the limelight. You need to talk to everybody, as it comes forward. Give yourself this whole week. Take a breather. Relax. Don't, just re-engage with your own family. Let this stress come down a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't talk to anybody. I mean, if you need to say something, you're welcome to hear. But then after next week, you go out and create a movement around the world. Talk to anybody, everything, as much as you can, as often as you can. Keep Suzanne in the spotlight. Do not let her diminish again. We had 3 months where she diminished. Okay. You came back in the picture, and it's been how many, 7 days now?
Yeah.
Or 3 weeks. And everybody in the world is talking about your sister. We saw this morning, as soon as they were searching that area, she was already in Europe like that.
Yeah.
That's what you got to keep doing.
Yeah.
That creates leads. Go ahead. I've said enough. Go ahead. Tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, it's amazing to me. Like I said, this investigation goes on even though I'm not here. It was going on before I got here. Okay.
Yep.
It was just getting a little too quiet for everybody's liking.
Yep.
And even the FBI and CBI, you know what they told me? They said, "Thank you." He said, "Thank you." Good. You don't know how much you boosted this investigation by coming out here. They said, "You don't know. We stand at Walmart every month and we hand out flyers about it. But you know what? After a while, they become trash to people. They take one look at them and they go in the trash. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying the people were doing that. I'm just saying that's how it falls away.
That's right.
And me coming out here has really stirred a beehive. Damn it, I'm disappointed that I didn't turn her up. I really am. But that told me something too. That tells the investigator something too. These people just walked 6,000 miles. Okay? 6,000 miles. And they didn't find that little girl. What does that tell you, Chris?
Yeah, no,
She's not laying in a roadside here, I'll promise you that.
Right, you did it.
Who does that eliminate?
Yeah, you did it. And that was your goal.
Yeah.
You did it. And
she's not laying along a path because I marched them all. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
It tells you somebody took a lot of damn time to hide her, doesn't it?
It sure does.
They went the extra mile, didn't they?
They sure did.
Now, let me ask you something. Does a rapist do that?
Not that to that extent. Well, I mean, some, but they're sophisticated.
Very few.
Yeah, very few.
Very few. Okay. So does a robber do that?
Not that quickly. Right.
What kind of person does that? Who hides somebody that good? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe I do.
Yeah, I think your gut is going to keep moving this thing in the right direction. I can guarantee you this, right, Andy? I think Mike and I, we've just been honored to be behind the scenes with you because this is, to the world that's watching you, this is the guy that we've been watching, Michael, right, for almost a month now.
From day one.
From day one, this is the guy that's on a mission, and I'm here to tell the world, okay, he just started a movement, and this is just the beginning. And I have to give a shout out to the people in Salida, Andy, because you did. They are just incredible people, and the one thing that they kept coming back was, can't believe how committed and down to earth he is. He's just like Suzanne. That was the feeling and the impact that your sister left upon the hearts of those people, and the people that didn't know her came to know her through you. Okay, and as a result of that, that legacy is still moving, and it's headed in the right direction. And folks, if you're there and you know somebody, to Andy's point, call that tip line tonight, tomorrow, the next day. Just please give them anything. This investigation needs to continue to move forward. This family needs to get some peace. I talked to Chris today and your dad, the relates to your dad. Have you had a chance to even call him? Because I didn't want to go there. Okay. How's he doing?
I think today he had a pretty good day, but they went to the cancer doctor, and that cancer's coming back. He's got a tumor growing under his shoulder right now, and we're going to try to set him up with treatments. I think my brother and his wife, David, are going to move him down there to Bedford, where somebody can keep a tight eye on him, and maybe we're going to postpone the Florida trip for a little while. And Dad's going to have to take some treatments. I'm scared. That's the truth. I'm scared for him, but I want him to do it. If that's what he wants to do, and he says he does, so I'm all behind him.
Yeah. Gene, your dad is a legend, and and Mike. I mean, we had a chance to talk to Gene at length, and this whole thing has been. He went from stage 4 diagnosis. We thought there was You thought there was going to be kind of okay. We got a little more room here. It wasn't quite as bad, and now we're back to no. They missed some other things, and they have found some more things. So he's moving that direction. And so if there's anything that motivates anybody, if you have a heart, okay, Gene needs to have his daughter home. That's it, period. Andy needs to have his sister home. Somebody in that town knows something, please. If you know something, please help this family. Because I'm here to tell you, this guy right here has started a movement. And when Chris and Mike, evaporate and will never leave you, don't misunderstand me. But as we go about life as a whole, Andy lives this moment by moment, day by day, minute by minute, second by second. Okay. If you know something, please pick up the phone and call that tip line for her, for Suzanne, and for Andy, for Gene and the rest of their family, and for, quite frankly, for Macy and for Mallory, the 2 girls. One day there's going to be a place and a time where other children are going to come into the world, and the first thing they're going to ask is about their mom, their grandmother. That information needs to be provided to them. That's the right thing to do in a civilized world, in a civilized time. Whoever this one person is, if you hear this plea from this man down there, please do the right thing, whatever it is. Go to the authorities, turn yourself in, tell them what happened, and then let's take the course that it needs to be and bring Suzanne home. Andy has given a valiant effort here, and there's some results that came, incredible results.
Yeah.
But we're not going to let another 3 months get by, are we, Andy?
No, I'll tell you, the tips that came in to CBI are overwhelming, and it's going to take them a while to process all of them. So you folks that think you're not going to get an answer, you know what I mean? When you give a tip, be patient. It takes them a little bit to get through it, okay? It doesn't hurt for you to call again to make sure, but I assure you, they don't let those go. They look at them. But I know how many tips came in on my cell phone while I was doing this, and I'm telling you, it's impossible to keep up with. They have a person, and they're not out searching. They have a person dedicated just to that job. So, you know, please, I want to know what happened to my sister. I honestly do. But at this point, I'm not going to be in Colorado where I can act on any of it. So please send it to CBI. Okay. I need to rest.
Yep.
I love my sister. I'm not forgetting about her. I'll still work on it when I can.
Yep. And
I have to get home and start paying attention to my family too. Yep. They've took it tough through all this, and they're kind of the casualties behind the scene.
Yep. So, Mike, I was going to say one thing real fast, just a high level recap. Okay.
Please.
You have covered every place you wanted to cover, correct? While you were here.
Yeah, I believe I did.
Okay. You had a lot of information from folks that have spiritual gifts, and you felt that you owed it to your sister to flush all that information out, correct?
That's right.
Did you do all that? Do you feel that you satisfactorily hit all that stuff?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. There wasn't a lead that I didn't chase.
Okay.
And
So
some people said, hey, psychics, they can help you. I chased.
And they can sometimes. You never know, right? That was your feeling, right?
And I'm not calling anybody wrong.
No.
Okay. Just because I didn't find something doesn't make them wrong.
That's right.
I'll tell you what that means. She could be buried 8 feet deep.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. It doesn't make any one of those people wrong.
Right. So what I want to do is just kind of keep moving here and check off the boxes. You also had some water resources that you checked. You had sonar, you had boats,
yep.
You had horses.
Yes.
You had drones.
Yes.
You had dogs.
Right.
You had technology.
Yeah. Big time technology.
Which, by the way, Mike, later on we'll be able to, ship as needed to the appropriate individuals that, can take a look at the bigger picture of information that was gathered.
Yeah.
You have all of these resources. Okay. And now if we were to go and you check them off the box, you're comfortable.
Yeah. I think I did everything I know to do. I honestly do.
Okay.
Then,
yep.
You can't go marching across private property. So that was never an option anyway. And those people, they probably know their properties.
Yep. And here's a good tip for you, for anybody to that point, Andy. Okay. Fly a drone over it. Yeah. Take pictures. Fly drones over.
Yeah.
Send those anomalies. If you see them, you think about it, just think Suzanne for now on. Yeah. Just think Suzanne while Andy's gone. Fly drones over, take photographs, send them to TBI. That's legal. That's all legal. You can do that. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
If you can't peek into people's windows or anything.
No, 400 feet. 400 feet. Remember that?
400 feet. Take the pictures and send them on. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to finish by telling you I'm very proud of you as a friend.
Thank you.
And we're going to circle back up, but I want you also as a friend to take a deep breath and take the next couple of days and kind of relax. Okay. Reconnect to your family. I'm going to turn it over to Mike, and then Michael, you do whatever you need to do from your side, sir. Right? I mean, from where you're feeling and then we'll let him close us out. And Andy, God bless you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
that'll be great.
Thank Mike, Chris. You guys are great. You really are.
Of course,
you're good people. You're good people, and you're doing a good thing. So, I greatly appreciate you too.
Thank you.
Well, we certainly love you. I have 3 questions for you. One is, did you do everything you could possibly do? Chris answered that, or you answered that for Chris.
Yeah.
Number two, did you create and develop relationships that will last the rest of your life as a result of this?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I rekindled some friendships with my old school buddies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know how it is. You graduate and you kind of drift apart. Man, we've had a nice time, good camaraderie for a week. You know what I mean? We worked hard, but don't get me wrong. We had a few laughs along the way.
Good.
Making
Well,
fun of our fat old selves running up and down hills.
yeah. But sounds like the music just kicked up. The third question and the final question is, and I hate to do it with this music in the background, is did you come closer to the God that you believe in?
Yeah, I did.
Then how could
you walk away from something like this? You got to have faith. You really do.
Yeah.
And I do have faith. I honestly, I'm telling you, CBI, you guys don't realize, and the FBI and the sheriff here are deeply involved in this case. It's frustrating as hell for them. They don't have a lot to go on. You have to understand. They've got a lot of information, but when it comes to a witness seeing something, I don't think it's there.
Yeah.
I think it was pulled off on such a day and at such time of night that nobody saw it.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Don't, and we're not going to put limits on a limitless God.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, with that, Andy, I want to just end with one short thought, and it's from a video I watched in the Grand Canyon at the big theater that wraps around. And it started with a camera looking at a small trickle of a stream, and the camera started to zoom, kind of that Men in Black view of going up and seeing the Grand Canyon, and it got smaller and smaller as it got further and further from the earth. And the narrator said something that I'll never forget. He said, how patient God is with his creations. Whether it's you or me and Chris and all these wonderful people who have been listening in, and even someone who chooses to kill, God is patient, but he still remains just. And so to you, know that you always have two brothers who love you. We will do anything we can to help you. We're going to demand that you come back and jump on and say hi to folks from time to time. Maybe once Gene's Root Beer becomes sold on the internet, and we're going to push it out, and we're going to make that. You're going to have to buy a whole new plant to do that.
Not yet. I need to rest a little while, please.
And and to everybody that's listening, that either if you ever feel threatened or you're concerned about your safety, you're living in a situation that you're concerned about, it won't get better. Get help and contact your local law enforcement, your mental health provider, or your medical provider, and get help. And we wish you all the very best. We'll see you on Thursday night. And Andy, may God be with you.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you. You're wonderful.
Thank you, Andy.
Good friends. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yes, sir.